Week in review, July 24th, 2023. I'm going to start off with comments. I have a second screen set up over here, so I'm going to read the comments from this screen over here. Actually, I'll bring them closer. At Paul Botha 5904. Hey Dave, I'd like to know your opinion on one, predominantly Northern Hemisphere's programming, i.e. Mayhem, HWPO, Proven, Invictus, etc., for Southern Hemisphere athletes and the effect it has on performance at the CrossFit Games, taking weather, temperature, seasons, and timing into consideration. Hopes this makes sense, and thanks for all the great content. Huge fan. It kind of doesn't make sense, at least to me. Someone else probably understands it a little, can decipher that a little better than I can. But I will say this: I don't think you need different programming because you're in the Southern Hemisphere for your CrossFit Games performance or to have a good CrossFit Games performance. I think what's most important there is the idea of getting there to Madison, or in the past LA, or in the really far past here at Aromas, getting to the area with enough time to acclimate and really get used to the local temperature. I mean, some of these athletes are coming 3-4 weeks in advance to the games, especially the Europeans, and I think that's absolutely the right call. So I don't know, I don't think the programming needs to be tailored because you're in the Southern Hemisphere. Maybe depending on where you're at, there's certain things you can't do, like running outside and, certain weather situations, but hope that kind of answers your question. Next one, at Zach Pets 6610. Can you tell us who's on the demo team this year? So recently they announced the demo team. The team picked it. I didn't have much. I gave approval, but I didn't have much input on it this year because I've kind of been disconnected for the previous year and a half. So in years past, I've been really specific about who I've wanted on the team. This year, not as much. At Joey GGL4110. Question, you said Boz still program 99% of the games and leverage your experience. Without getting specific, what types of changes were in that 1%? Was it mostly floor layout things to tell the story better, logistical concerns, etc.? Actually, with you saying without getting specific, exactly the things you're asking me to talk about, that is getting specific. So I'm not going to dive too much into what those changes were, but 99, it might be. So the games were programmed, then we went to Columbus for some testing sessions. And like I said there, and since then, we've had a lot of interaction back and forth on the programming. And as you can imagine, I will say, I don't know if it's 99%, I don't know if it's 90, 80, it doesn't matter. It's been a two-way dialogue, and we've had a lot of back and forth, and there's been a lot of feedback from my vast experience that I've given and that we've applied in some cases, not all cases, but in some cases, to the actual programming. At Aaron OLNE Flay 6390. One more question on cuts. All right, here we go. Why would you not just take less athletes to the games? Couldn't you more easily cut down to 20-20 male, female in semifinals rather than at the games? I mean, honestly, don't you think it's a great opportunity for those 20 athletes that wouldn't be there from the actual semifinals if we did that to still come to the games and be a games qualifier? I think it is. I think it's appropriate to have 40 athletes. 50, 60, that's too many. 40 is appropriate. Starting with 30 or 20 might be too small. But starting with 40, and then they get there Monday or Tuesday, they go through the process of checking in, they're games athletes, they go through the award ceremony, they're going to compete all day Thursday, they're going to compete all day Friday, and then based on their performance at that point, based on their ability not to advance in the competition at that point, we cut them, or we don't let them advance. But the point is that still they're going to have a games experience and they are games athletes. So after Saturday, if we were to ask the 20 who don't advance on to Saturday and Sunday if they would have just rather stayed home, I really doubt that would be the case. Another question on cuts. At SMB591, I think the cuts will sting a little more for the competitors who are traveling from overseas. Quite a costly outlay to be out in that first cut. So again, they're coming out early. They're part of the whole spectacle. They check in. They're part of the award ceremony, the opening ceremony. They compete all day Thursday. They compete all day Friday. They are games athletes, and then if they don't advance, they don't advance. So I don't think it's going to sting. I think it'll sting as an athlete, not measuring up to the standard that we put out a month ago for advancement, for sure. But it's still a worthwhile effort for those to embark on. At Brian Anderson 3241. Hey Dave, I think the cuts are exactly the right decision. Cool. This coming from a recon Marine. Thank you for your service. This makes the spectacle of CrossFit that much better to prevent sandbagging early on. What is your take on Justin Medeiros not taking first in any event but still taking the title of fittest on earth? To your first statement, this makes the spectacle of CrossFit that much better to prevent sandbagging early on. Even with all of what we're talking about with cuts, I don't think anybody's sandbagging. None of these athletes are going to come out there and not give it their all. There might be someone might have an injury where they're not able to perform at their highest, but I really doubt, I don't believe these athletes sandbag in the competition scenarios. Although there is a moment years ago in Carson, they call it the Pat Barber rule, where Pat Barber definitely sandbagged in a workout to do better in a workout that was immediately attached to it in a test, an event. That was he definitely sandbagged, but that was a strategic sandbag. I don't know if here what you're talking about would be a strategic sandbag. Second point, what is your take on Justin Medeiros not taking first in any event but still taking the title of fittest on earth? Yeah, that's totally fine. You don't have to win events to win the games. You just have to be statistically high enough across all the events to win, and that's what we're looking for. We're not looking for specialists. Also, that being said, there are at this level in the games, there are not specialists at these events. Yeah, sure, there's someone who's stronger or who has a better snatch than everyone else, but by like a few pounds. It's not like it's 50 pounds or 100 pounds more than the next guy, maybe even 10 or 15 pounds. But the realm or the era of the CrossFit Games having specialists, that is long gone. I feel like this year's games and in the future may try and prevent this and make athletes take at least first in one event to achieve the title of fittest on earth. No, that wouldn't be in line with what we're trying to do or what CrossFit is. But again, thank you for the comment and thank you for your service. At John Mancini 8328, Dave, so what's your guys' plan for Helen at the games? What will be the changes for the elite? So we announced Helen recently. We'll just have to wait and see. At Robert Bergalt 7366, have you ever tried ChatGPT to program a WOD? If so, how did it do? I have never even tried ChatGPT, so I have not used it to program a WOD. I have had friends who have used it to program WODs, and they said, on a surface level, it looked fine. I should check that out and see how it works. At PNW_Charles, I spoke to a relative who's currently active duty SF and asked him if he had heard about the Army Ignite program and the CF partnership. He said he hadn't, and that we have the Thor Fitness stuff anyway. Quotation. That was his quote. How do I do a better job of talking to him about it, and how does CrossFit relate to that Thor Fitness program? Thanks. So the Thor Fitness program, that's something that the Special Forces groups have, and the traditional Army does not. This engagement is solely with at this point with the some units in the traditional Army. It's not even across the whole Army, so we should be clear about that. The Army Ignite program is across the whole Army. So via Army Ignited, you can sign up for level 1 or level 2, and the Army Ignite program will reimburse you for the course. But our effort right now that we're working with General Donahue is for 18th Airborne Corps and 3rd ID specifically. How do I do a better job of talking to him about it? Well, I mean, if he's an SF guy and he has his store, I'm not super familiar with everything Thor does. I imagine there's some CrossFit influence there, but you can tell him to check out some of the things I've talked about on here, or even contact me at Andreas and Strom 5101. Can you talk more on how you work with your creativity? Do you have certain times during the day, week, month, year, where you create more in order to develop the creative side? Is this something you even think and act on? Well, I'll talk more about how I stay fresh and creative, or what routine I have to support that. So I read, and I read a lot, and I every morning when I wake up, from 6 in the morning to 7, or sometimes just only 6:30, sometimes even 6:15, depending on how much I'm into the book, I dedicate the first thing I do in the morning to reading. And then throughout the day, periodic small intervals, take a break from work and read to kind of just disconnect and go somewhere else. Also, at the end of the night, I read a lot. I'll read before going to bed. So for me, that kind of helps keep me creative and fresh towards perspectives of certain things, and or in creating different stuff. Outlets for my creativity include just, building stuff here, doing stuff at the ranch, sewing. I wouldn't say programming right now. I'm not using that outlet too much for that. A lot of those other little things that I like to do throughout the day, to include shooting, being creative in the drills I create there, etc. At Cole Eckenstein 8372. Will you be taking more active role in programming the games next year? Thanks. Yeah, I mean, I won't take an inactive role, that's for sure. I think back involved, I will of course be very involved in it throughout all stages, and from its inception to the final product. Absolutely. At Shoot the Club Up 42. Most explosive athlete, James Townsend. Don't make it a test at the games. Most CrossFit athletes are not explosive, or they would play a real sport. Wish you worked with the police a little less. So, wish you worked with the police a little less. I don't think I can properly respond to that because I don't have any context. I think I just would rather I'll put it back on you first. I'll say why. So if you can answer the why you're saying that statement, then I can respond appropriately in the future. So if on this video, when I post it at Shoot the Club Up 42, if you respond with what your why is for why I shouldn't work with the police a little less, I'll respond to it with that statement in mind. Meaning, for all I know, you might be saying that because you think I'm not qualified or I don't have enough experience to work with the police. And then in that case, if that's why you think I shouldn't, sure, maybe I shouldn't. Or you might have some other reasons. And I will address this next time, the statement, wish you worked with the police a little less, if you can tell me why you think that. Thank you. Thank you, though, for commenting and putting that in there. But I'm not going to address it right now. Last week I went to Austin. We had an engagement with Army's Future Command and their leadership, and we put a bunch of them through some workouts. We actually did it at Austin FC, the football club there, and we flew in Brooke Wells, and so she helped us, and we've had a number of staff there. Chuck was there, and then Ben Allen from Apex Path and Striveworks, he was there in his team. And it was a really good trip. It was really hot in Texas. And while there, I actually was able to visit a number of affiliates. Saw Jeremy Thiel, who I haven't seen in a very long time. It was really good to catch up with him. Old school podium finisher, old school games athlete. And he actually said something I think might be true. He said he thinks he and his sister are the only games athletes who are siblings who've been on the podium. So maybe Brian Frand or one of you guys, you can, or Hiller or whoever's listening, can check that out and verify if there's ever been other siblings on the podium. Went to CrossFit Yakaru, Well, also dropped in, I forgot the other CrossFit box, but good couple other CrossFit gyms we dropped into. Had some great barbecue, but it was really, really hot, like 107 degrees hot. So I was happy to leave. Super quick trip, but happy to get out there because of the heat. So something cool I want to show you guys. Hold on. Every year we've had a CrossFit Games app. We have it this year too. So go ahead and go online and download the new CrossFit Games app. So you can get all caught up to speed on everything CrossFit Games. There's a tab called Progress right now. It's called Progress, where you can input some of your lifts and some of your. It's the old benchmarks we've had in the old CrossFit Games or in the old open profile for years. It's here, and you can actually see your progress relative to percentile. So I have a 465 deadlift, did it a long time ago, 2009, actually while deployed to Afghanistan. So, and that puts me in the 90th percentile for men. When you do this, actually make sure you change it, because when I first looked at this, it said 99th percentile, and I was like, oh, that's awesome. And someone, as I was talking through, they said, oh, it's probably selected for women, and it was. So make sure you select your gender, and then you can see for your inputted scores where you rank. Fran, I have at 302, again, really long time ago, 91st percentile. And then Helen, so it's funny, I was looking at the board. In 2006, that was my Helen PR. I did an 8:15, and I'm only talking about Helen because we recently announced it's an event at the games this year. So that 8:15, which there's no way I could do that now, puts me at the 92nd percentile of scores that we have at this point. Max pull-ups, 50 reps, 95th percentile. That's probably the one I could get closest to again without too much. Well, no, that'd take a lot of training. But I could probably get back there sooner than I could get to an 8:15 Helen or a 3:02 Fran. But anyways, check out the app. It looks good. It looks clean. The team did a really good job on it. And a lot more to come with that. Helen, super cool. You know, someone else I saw somewhere comment about how they remember early on James Fitzgerald doing Helen at the original gym in like 7 something, or was it sub 7? It was really fast. And it was actually, this person, where I saw the comment, said it was pre the butterfly pull-up, which it was. So really cool event to see back at the games. And finally, before I go, I've been talking for a while. I read Malcom X's autobiography. He wrote that with Alex Haley, and I was blown away. That story, his journey is really complex, and it was fascinating to dive a layer deeper into all aspects of his life, and just this whole journey he went on. And then ultimately what happened to him at the end there, incredibly tragic, obviously. But I didn't know much about him, and I recently went to a thrift store with my family, and I was looking at the books, and I saw that, and I was just like, yeah, I'm going to get it, and I'm going to read it. And it was great. Definitely for this year, for my books, definitely one of the top 3. And then I watched the movie again, which I remember watching as probably a kid, because the movie came out in 92 with Denzel Washington, and the movie was also equally great. So if you're looking for a good book, check out Malcom X's autobiography. If you're looking for a good movie, check out the movie. All right, that's it. Next week I will be in Madison. I'm actually leaving this week, so I'll try to do a weekend review from Madison. And as always, drop a comment in the comment section, and then next week I'll select a number of comments to respond to, and hopefully maybe I'll respond to the comment you put in there. All right, thanks a lot.